The local stories you care about. News Talk 1330 WLBB, Carrollton.
Good Friday morning, everybody. Friday. Today's Wednesday. Good Wednesday morning. Welcome to the WLBB Community Voice Program, our show brought to you by Tanner Health System here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3. And this morning we're streaming live on Facebook Live. If you tune into our Facebook page, News Talk 1330 WLBB, you will see our guest this morning before I introduce you to him. I'm used to working on Friday, so I do apologize. It is Wednesday, just so you don't mess up your calendar here. This Friday, though, is the final day for residents in Villa Rica's 2nd Ward to cast an early ballot for their next city council person. You can do that at Powell Park Arts Center at 524 Leslie Drive until Friday of this week. That's prior to Election Day, which is next Tuesday, the 19th. And on the ballot for residents is retired civil servant Cheryl Bell, and she was the guest on our Community Voice program this past Friday. So if you're interested in learning a bit about her, that program should be available on our website, newstalk1330.com. Also on the ballot is attorney Matthew Momtahan. He is our guest this morning. We appreciate you coming in. Good morning.
Good morning, Colin.
Making the trek down from the City of Gold this morning.
Yes,
give us the who, what, where, when, why, and how of Matthew Momtahan.
Well, first I want to apologize for my voice. I'm a little crispy this morning because just kind of fighting off this change of weather stuff.
It's good.
But anyway, my name is Matthew Momtahan, as most of y'all know. I'm a local attorney in Villa Rica. Wife and I moved to Villa Rica in 2012. We are, I should say, we are firmly rooted in Villa Rica now. I'm president of the Villa Rica Main Street Board. I'm also on the Downtown Development Authority, the Citywide Development Authority, Convention Visitors Bureau. Been appointed to 2 steering committees by Mayor and Council as well as was formerly on the Board of Appeals before the Mayor and Council dissolved that board when they changed the charter. So I've been appointed by Mayor and Council to take on a lot of responsibility through my volunteerism, and I'm looking to elevate my service to City Council just to continue to serve the city and write the next chapter in the city's story. Yeah. So
I'd like to go over each of those boards and your job and find out how they work in City Council. But I guess the first thing, you are employed. The candidate who is going against you, Cheryl Bell, she is retired.
Right.
Looking at those, she may have more time to participate in City Council activities. Is that accurate, do you think, or are you able to commit as much time as possible?
Like I said, I've already committed myself to 4 boards in the city. So I've definitely have found ways to serve the city, and I will continue to do so.
How does being a lawyer help you be a city council person?
Well, the kind of lawyer I am specifically, I do believe helps me, or at least in my past. Prior to starting my own practice, my practice focused on zoning, lane use, real estate issues, local government. So I've been involved in local government pretty much since I graduated college. Graduated from Georgia State with a degree in political science and also with another degree in urban policy studies, planning and economic development. Interned at county administration office, not here in Carroll, but elsewhere. Worked in the planning department before I went to law school at that same county. Then went to law school and came out. So I've been involved in local government since at least 2004. So.
And the Development Authority, what does the Development Authority look at? What kind of decisions would you be responsible for?
Development Authority is basically the authority that tries to incentivize employers and industry to come to Villa Rica. There's a few different projects I can't talk about, but that's been discussed before. Bring jobs to Villa Rica, expand the industrial parks. We also had some involvement with the recent announcement by Steve Adams to bring his his company here, or one of his companies here, I should say, his headquarters.
How do you get to the point where you can talk to Steve Adams to bring that? Did he come to the city and say, I'm looking for a place, or I'd like to come to Carroll County because it's my home county?
In Steve's situation, yes, that is what happened. He did want to come back to Villa Rica, so we had some talks with him, but we didn't really have incentivized him to be here, to come back. So,
what are good businesses to bring to Villa Rica, and maybe what are some examples of bad businesses? Because Villa Rica is in the process of growing. I think maybe 5 years ago they talked about it could be 36,000 in 10 years, but I think they've backtracked on that just a little bit, maybe because of the recession. But what are examples of good businesses Villa Rica needs, and that you would, in which, if you want businesses to stay away, what businesses would you not be in favor of? Would you find ways to vote against, whether it's not accepting zoning?
Well, I wouldn't say there's a business that we would not want them to be there. We would just want, let's put it this way, we want businesses that will be good corporate stewards in the community, that have invested in the community, invest in their employees, pay their employees a great wage or salary, and can really benefit the overall community through economic development and through corporate stewardness. So companies like Luco, which is up in Villa Rica, we toured their facility last year. It was great. And they're great. You never know. You got 60, 70 employees up there making anywhere from like mid five figures up to six figures in that facility. Southwire obviously is a great corporate steward in Carroll County. Sugar Foods, Toronto Foods, those the folks, the companies that we have up there now are great. We just want to encourage those kind of companies, and companies that we would not want in Villa Rica, if you want to put it that way. I wouldn't say there's any certain kind of industry per se, but I would say companies who don't have the track record of being a good corporate steward, companies who aren't looking to invest in our community and invest in their employees either, companies that are looking for just temporary kind of facilities or something like that, and that would maybe require high resources on our part. So we'd be less inclined, put it that way, to want to recruit those companies. Now, obviously, if somebody has the facilities and they want to come in, then I don't believe the city government should stand in the way ultimately. So.
With, I guess, when negotiating to bring a business here, business is interested in coming to Villa Rica. How do you decide whether or not to, agree with the tax abatement or to offer a tax abatement? What are the qualifications in your mind to allow that?
Well, the first question would be, is it necessary to offer them any kind of incentive like that in order to recruit them? If there's other communities that are out there fighting for them, then we're going to want to compare the packages and try to, bring them with a package of incentives that will outmeasure or outweigh the other communities. So,
do you get to see the other packages, the other offers, or do they kind of just tell you what they are being offered to kind of leverage you into? Yeah,
non-disclosures don't really allow us to see that, but they kind of give us an idea of, hey, this is what we're offered here versus what they're offered there. And Daniel Jackson, Carol Tomorrow, and Donna Lackey, and now JR, who came on there, are great with kind of balancing those weights for us and presenting those to the board ultimately.
Matthew Momtahan is one of two candidates running for the Ward 2 district, Ward 2 seat on the City Council of the City of Villa Rica. The second time that you've sought political office, and
yes.
Just in the past, I want to say it was the past year, right?
Yes.
And there's also the chance, if you win this race, that you would have to run again later on this year. So that's the possibility.
Right. Well, definitely we'll have to run again later this year, but whether there'll be somebody running against me, I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes.
Would your brother, I believe, also, is he a city council person or
state representative?
State representative. Okay, where's he at?
Paulding County. I think it's the 17th
like that.
District, 17th district legislature. I can't remember which district it is, but Paulding County primarily.
Well, as a city council person, would relationships with legislators and I guess Carroll County Board of Education representatives for Villa Rica, would those be important to you, and how would you take advantage of those?
Absolutely. Rob Cleveland, Robert Pickney, they're both valuable assets to the Board of Education, and we would depend on them a lot for community connectedness and relationships. Villa Rica is the largest high school. I just learned this yesterday in my Leadership Academy class, actually, but Villa Rica is the largest high school in Carroll County. So we definitely, and obviously how the community came out and supported the Lady Wildcats, I think it's the school system is a very strong, important factor in the overall community of Villa Rica. So.
You're taking the Carroll County Leadership course right now. How far are you into that?
I think we're on session 7 or 8, I think.
What have you done that you weren't aware? When I did it, I was probably only here for like 6 months. So everything was brand new to me. Everything that we saw every week was brand new to me about that. What have you learned about the county, I guess, taking that so far?
I think the only thing that we've only tour that we've taken so far is the jail, and that was a good experience. Just kind of seeing the other side, if you will, of that. and what law enforcement do and have to go through, and then the facilities there. So,
well, our guest this morning is Matthew Momtahan. He is one of two candidates running for the Ward 2 City Council seat for the city of Villa Rica. Early voting continues today, tomorrow, and Friday. Friday, the last day, and it will be at the Powell Park Arts Center, 524 Leslie Drive in Villa Rica. On Tuesday, how many polling places will be open?
Well, so if you're in the city limits of Villa Rica and you're also in Carroll County, which this entire ward is, there is only one precinct, and that is Powell Park, Leslie Drive.
Okay. Yeah.
I believe if you're in Douglas County, which is not related at all to this election, then you'll be at Mirror Lake Elementary. If you live in Villa Rica, but on the Douglas side.
I got you. So you don't have any of the Douglas County side at all.
No,
so it'll just
none
be
at
one.
all.
Even on Tuesday, on election day,
Tuesday.
just one polling place.
Right. Powell Park, 524 Leslie Drive.
Very good. And that'll be regular 8 to 7, I guess, on next Tuesday.
I believe it's 7 to 7, but
7 to 7.
You could probably check the Carroll County Elections Office website to confirm.
And we'll remind you at least a couple more times before that happens on Tuesday. Questions and comments, feel free to post them up on the Facebook Live page on the News Talk 1330 WLBB, or call us at 678-601-8255, 678-601-TALK, and we'll take our first break. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System, News Talk 1330, FM 106.3.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama, because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve, but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice program. Our show brought to you by Tanner Health System, News Talk 1330, FM 106.3. Also streaming live this morning on Facebook, News Talk 1330 WLBB. Good morning to our friends in Atlanta who came from Carrollton, who are working in Atlanta this morning, who were watching us on Facebook Live. Big shout out to you guys. The reason this position opened back in November was unfortunate incident that occurred led to the resignation of Verlin Best, who had held the seat for 16 years, close to 16, maybe 4 or 5 terms. What's your overall thinking about the way that was handled? What happened and the way it was handled?
Well, I mean, it was, I think it was September actually.
Was that long? Okay.
Right, and Verlin decided to retire. I heard a lot of reasons why he decided to do that. I can't say for sure. I can't say he was told he had to do this or he had to do that. I don't know. But I know he decided to retire because of the comment that was made, that he acknowledged making. And he decided to retire. So here we are. The language that he used, I don't condone, obviously, but and it, it's probably wasn't professional. Regardless of what you think about the circumstances surrounding how it was said, it just wasn't professional. Absolutely.
Now, the reason that local media and Atlanta media got it was an anonymous source that called each and every one of us or sent us an email. And maybe the city didn't have time to tell anybody or do anything about that. Do you think the city should be responsible for telling the public, telling the media when something like that happens?
I think after it's an HR issue potentially, particularly since it was made in front of a city employee. I think there are certain investigations that have to occur. And my understanding is that the city attorney did make an investigation, and then they approached Verlin and discussed it with him at the time. As soon as their investigation was done. So to my knowledge, I believe the city did kind of follow the right course of action. But ultimately, the council position is an elected position, and it was ultimately Verlin's decision to retire. So,
do you would you have considered running for this seat in November if it had been opened? Would you have considered challenging Verlin?
Not particularly, no. To be honest with you, just didn't really. Verlin had been a mainstay. I mean, you said he was there multiple years. He was actually there 23 years. Verlin was a mainstay on the council. It just wouldn't make much sense to run up against an incumbent. So I would not have ran, but I have the opportunity now, so here I am. And like I said, I just want to elevate my service to the city council. I think I'll do a great job. Taking connection to my background and my experience on all the boards that I'm on and my involvement in the city. I'm ready to write the next chapter, move the city forward. So
The city supported T-SPLOST last year, transportation, special purpose, local option sales tax.
Right.
There might have been people on the council who were hesitant initially, but I think everybody, the city as a whole, did support that,
Right.
and voters shot it down. Were you a supporter of T-SPLOST, and do you see that it would have been beneficial to Villa Rica?
Right. Well, as you know, the city has immense infrastructure issues right now, water and sewer, as well as transportation. We needed that North Loop bypass to come in. And while there was no set number of projects that was proposed with the T-SPLOST money, some of that could have been used as seed money to get that project fast tracked, hopefully, or at least if I had that opportunity, that's something I would have talked to our legislators about and GDOT about doing. And other issues. I think at last night's council meeting, City Manager Tom Barber said that the T-SPLOST would have generated $100,000 a month. I think he said. For transportation issues, and that would have addressed a lot of issues. Colin, you have to understand that as president of the Main Street Board, we can't even run a parade downtown because 61 is a state road. If and when the North Loop bypass does come in, my understanding is that 61 will be re-signaled. That then will allow the city to take over that portion of 61. So, even little things like running a parade in downtown Villa Rica would be easier. Never mind the ease, the help in the traffic and all that and the congestion. So I would say I was in support of the T-SPLOST just because I knew that Villa Rica needed it.
You talk about being on the Main Street, president of the Main Street Board. What else? I mean, and I'm sure you're proud of the work you're doing with it, and you're proud of Main Street. Is there anything that Main Street needs to do that maybe they can't? Just financial restraints? What kind of improvements can Main Street do for the city?
The largest restraint, if you want to call it that, is actually just a matter of the city has so much infrastructure challenges right now that it doesn't make sense to invest in new sidewalks or expanding sidewalks or doing the revitalization, acting upon a lot of the revitalization plan that was put together back in 2015, which I was on that steering committee for. Because then you're going to turn around and tear it all down in order to put new pipes down. Or you're faced with $15 million worth of infrastructure improvements, and you're spending money on a facility or sidewalks, and a lot of citizens may not see that as being good stewards of tax money. So,
how long do you see that happening? I mean, I'm assuming you've talked with Barbara, and we've heard the public comments. How long do you see that happening, and do you see that just really delaying, any other big projects for the city?
I mean, to be honest with you, I would say hopefully not, but within probably for the next 2 to 3 years at least. I think Tom has a great plan right now on how to address all the water infrastructure issues. The biggest one being that we just need a master water and sewer plan in Villa Rica. I was told that we have 40 some odd pump stations, sewer lift stations in Villa Rica. And that's more than I believe Douglasville has, and possibly Carrollton as well. And that's because we never had a master sewer plan. So that developers, when they did come in, they said you have to tie into this master sewer plan so that it works as a system versus just I'm going to build this pump station and these facilities and infrastructure just to serve my neighborhood so I can sell these houses and get out. That's something that Villa Rica was never had. We need to work on that, putting that in place. And then you can turn around and say, well, now we can kind of pinpoint what we need to do as far as the infrastructure and how long it's going to take. And I'm not saying that we're going to push everything off as far as those amenities are concerned. We're not going to push everything off in lieu of that. Whatever we can do, I think we will do, because those amenities are also important too, not just from a aesthetic facts, but also from an economic development perspective. Because when you're trying to recruit Sugar Foods, you're trying to recruit Southwire or other similar businesses, they're asking you, well, what do you have for my employees to do? What kind of parks and rec facilities do you have? What kind of restaurants do you have downtown? What is your downtown like? And you're fighting against Woodstock and Suwannee and Sonoy down in Coweta County, or I think it's Coweta County, for those kind of facilities. So it's a battle. So it's a multifaceted approach to economic development, and so you can't push everything off. Even these are kind of amenities like a nice downtown because of the infrastructure, but you have to have the infrastructure to support it all. So it's a chicken and egg problem a little bit, but definitely the infrastructure is a priority. So
you did say your neighborhood. What is your neighborhood?
Augusta Woods.
And where is that?
It is off Reed Road. So if you kind of, where the Bojangles is at, there's a little fork back there. If you veer left on the fork, go down probably half a mile, maybe quarter mile, and it's on the left.
And for those who may not know the ward, what does the ward look like? Where that starts and ends?
Yeah, the ward is kind of interesting to describe. So it's probably easiest to describe it by what neighborhoods and communities make up the ward. You have the Ledbetter Lassiter Circle neighborhood, which is actually called Carroll Vista. I think that's Verlin's neighborhood, or that is Verlin's neighborhood, I should say. The Clearview, part of the Clearview neighborhood, which surrounds Villa Rica High School, and then some on Rocky Branch Road right there. Then you go down to the Hickory Falls apartment complex, back behind Liberty Chevrolet. You have the trails at Charleston Place, Summergate. East Bay Springs is the other neighborhood. My neighborhood, Augusta Woods. Pebblebrook over off Daniel Road, and Ashbury Park, or Ashbury, I believe it's called. Then you loop back down over to Wildwood Glen apartment complexes. Those are at least the residential components of it. I think some of the commercial out on 61 would be also in the ward, where the racetrack and the Hardee's and all that. I believe that's also in the ward, if I remember the map correctly. So
if you're in that ward, or if you're in that area, you are in Ward 2. So
yes.
This race should be talking to you. Matthew Momtahan, he is one of two candidates looking to be the next city council person for Ward 2. Again, Friday is the last day to vote early, but then, of course, you can vote next Tuesday. And each and every time you go vote, it's at the Powell Park Art Center, 524 Leslie Drive in Villa Rica. We'll take our final break, come back with about 7.5 minutes on this morning's Community Voice program. Our show brought to you by Tanner Health System, News Talk 1330, FM 106.3.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama. Because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve, but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
Now 8:53, at about 6.5 minutes left in this morning's program. Our guest is Matthew Momtahan, one of two candidates running for Ward 2 City Council in the city of Villa Rica. Looking at our Facebook page, Frederick Tillman, he says, "You're looking good, Matt."
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, Rick's a good guy. Rick, chairman of the Carroll County Republican Party. Again, Matthew Momtahan, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. We did it. He's one of two candidates running for that seat. We interviewed Cheryl Bell last Friday, and if you want to compare the two candidates, if you haven't already made your decision, you can go back to our website, newstalk1330.com, and listen to that podcast. And then when we're done here, you can go back and listen to this one as well. It'll be on the very, very top of our website, newstalk1330.com. We talk about the structure issues, infrastructure issues, and that. What other issues do you think are facing Villa Rica? I mean, if you can look 5 years ahead, because that's really what you need to do as a city council person. What kind of issues do you see facing the city next? I just
generally I would say managing future growth. Ward 2 is kind of what I kind of frame as a lot of it's the new Villa Rica. It is where the expansion. Absent the Douglas County side, on the Mirror Lake side, it is where the new expansion is coming in. We have the Avamore project, which is about 200 acres that's been proposed, which is a mostly senior living component, but also includes some single-family residential. So that 61 corridor going south towards Carrollton, that is the area of growth for Villa Rica. And so managing that growth, that we don't become congested, we don't become strangling ourselves or choking ourselves out to where we're then missing out on opportunities because businesses and residents are looking elsewhere, so that we're not overburdening ourselves. That would be the biggest issue, I think, long term for Villa Rica. We need the growth to help offset some of these water and sewer issues, costs and finances, to ease the burden on homeowners on taxes. But at the same time, we can't suffocate ourselves, and we need to make sure we're not doing that.
How do you plan to keep constituents involved and aware of what your, the next steps? I mean, do you tell them, a month ahead of time, like this big project's coming up, I want you to be aware, I want your input, and how do you do that?
Well, for one thing, constituents can always just give me a call. I've given my cell phone number out numerous times at the campaign trail. Give me a call, 770-656-2013. That's my cell phone. It's been my cell phone for 19 years now, and it's probably not going to ever change. So beyond that, I'm on Facebook, social media. I didn't just join Facebook recently just for this campaign. I've been on it for a while now. And I think we got nearly 500 people who like my Facebook page. From when I was a public, as a public profile. They can always reach out to me there. Of course, I'll post things on social media. And then there's email. Email is something that Councilwoman McPherson does. I've loved the idea from the very beginning that I'm on her email list, and I'm working to build my own email list of constituents and voters and interested parties. So. And then on top of that, you can just come see me in my office off South Carroll Road, or I can come see you. I'm in the community every day, so I'm everywhere in the community. So you just give me a call. I'll meet you at the Starbucks down in Ward 2. I'll meet you at your house, or you can come to my office and we can have a chat. Tell me what your issues are, even if it's not a city issue. Like you were saying, I know legislators. My brother's a legislator. I have a good relationship with Jay Collins, Micah Gravely, Senator Dugan. If you want me to get on the phone and talk to them, I'll do that. You want me to get on the phone, talk to Clint about a county issue, I can do that. Clint and I have a good relationship since, so.
As an attorney, I'll ask you this good question since you're an attorney, and I don't know if a city can attack this issue. Every time somebody on a local level, local elected official moves up, gets a job someplace else in midterm,
right?
People bring it up and say, hey, it's taxpayer money, we're going to have to pay for a special election, and it's frustrating to them. On a local level, can you address something like that? Can city council address that? I mean, should there be a way to make them pay for it? I mean, I know you get away whether it's a personal issue, they step down because of a personal issue, or they step down because they got another position elsewhere. Yeah,
I mean, on a local level, that's probably a legislature thing, to where maybe the candidate stepping down will have to bear some of that cost. But I don't know. Like you said, it's a personal issue. If somebody had something happen in their family that they didn't predict or didn't. I don't know how fair it would be to put that burden on them, but like you said, it's a burden on the taxpayers too. So it's something I thought about, to think about. One thing you could do, like for example, in the city, you could change the charter to where if somebody steps down within some range of time, I think the charter does permit this, but it just so happened that we were a few months out of that window in Villa Rica, but where the rest of the board can just appoint somebody to fill the term, I guess, but that may be kind of perceived as being kind of undemocratic if you have it for too long. So, it's just a balance. You're going to have kind of a balance you have to take. So
you got 1 minute left. What do you want to make sure, anything that we didn't tell anybody or something you want to emphasize about your candidacy?
Again, I would emphasize that, I've been deeply involved in this city for, going on 4 years now. I was first I first joined the Main Street Board probably 4 years this month, I think it was, when I first applied to be on the Main Street Board. From there, I escalated my service to the to the Citywide Development Authority. I was on the Board of Appeals for while I was in place before the charter change. I was appointed by Mayor and Council to the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, the Downtown Master Plan Steering Committee. Been on now Convention and Visitors Bureau, now this Downtown Development Authority. So obviously, Mayor and Council have trusted me all these times to be into these boards. I don't think anybody's ever voted against me to be on a board, and so I'm looking to elevate that service there to write the next chapter in our story and make Villa Rica a better place for everybody.
Matthew Momtahan, one of two candidates for the Ward 2 City Council seat in the City of Gold, Villa Rica, and we appreciate you being our guest this morning.
Thank you, Colin.
And we appreciate you guys listening and watching us on Facebook Live this morning. Tomorrow is Thursday, and I have no idea who our guest is, so I will not try to tell you. But we'll have more Community Voice tomorrow morning right here at 8:30. I believe Lori will be back in this seat. Hope you'll tune in then. Have a great day.
National headlines, Georgia State news and sports, and the local stories.